Hello everybody, welcome to the Alternative Left Show. It is the 12th of August 2018. Now this is the first episode of WTF, which is going to be a regular series on this channel, which is going to comment on things that have been happening in the world. Now I wanted to start this channel with an introduction video, but there's been a little bit too much happening in the world, so I'll try get that video out sometime within the week. Now on to the subject of the video. So first I'm going to cover Tommy Robinson. Now for those who don't know who Tommy Robinson is a political activist. He campaigns against the perceived Islamification of Britain. He's also the founder of the English Defence League and is a very divisive figure, to say the least. And recently he was just released from prison after being jailed for contempt of court for reporting on a Muslim grooming gang. Now when this went to the British Court of Appeal, Lord Burnet, who is the Lord Chief Justice, which is the highest office in the land, had the conviction quashed and scheduled a retrial. Now, I'm not going to go into Tommy Robinson's politics, quite simply because that's for another video. And for all of the things I've seen and read about Tommy Robinson, it would take a lot more research on my behalf to actually come to a conclusion of what I think about him. So, I actually want to approach this from a point of principle. So if you are opposed to Tommy Robinson, please try and separate here the person from the politics. So Lord Burnet said, and I quote, "Once Robinson had removed the video from Facebook, there was no longer sufficient urgency to justify immediate proceedings." And from what I've read of the document on Lord Burnet's report, Tommy Robinson was sent to prison with not having a clear view of why he was going to prison. Now, to me, Tommy Robinson isn't actually the concern here, because Tommy Robinson has a big enough public profile and probably has the resources to pay for a lawyer to get himself out of this kind of shit. My concern is how often does this happen to other people who don't have the same level of public profile or who aren't as well off. And I have to say, if you're Antifa or claim to be Antifa, you should be protesting this despite the fact he might be perceived to be your enemy. Because if you can't defend your enemies on your own principles, then you have no fucking principles. Because if they can do it to Tommy Robinson, they can do it to you. They can do it to absolutely anybody. Now, I am pleased to see that our Court of Appeal system isn't totally and utterly corrupt, because it's quite clear that they sent Tommy Robinson to prison as fast as humanly possible without a fair trial. And you might be cheering, you might be going, yes, we got the racist off the street. But what you have to realise is, if you are against him, all this has done is raise his public profile. I mean, how many people have perhaps not heard of Tommy Robinson until this incident has happened? Now, from my point of view, what's happened to Tommy Robinson is totally wrong. Now, before you call me a fucking Islamophobe or a racist because I'm defending him, I quite simply will say to you, I'm principled and I will defend everybody if I think they've been wronged. Now, I've also seen the reports about how he was sent into solitary confinement and was frightened to eat because he was being served food by the Islamic population of the prison. Now, because I've not been able to verify this, I'm going to leave this subject until we get the results of his complaint. And if that turns out to be true or not, then you can expect another video. Now, this coincides with my next story because Tommy Robinson has also had his content removed from another platform. I can't remember which platform it was, as there seems to be a purge going on social media. Now, as you probably know by now, the biggest one hit was Infowars, which is Alex Jones's platform. I've also read that some smaller profile accounts have gone down. Now, from my point of view, I think this is a very dangerous move by the social media platforms because they are politicising themselves. And if people can't trust the validity of their content, they're going to start going to other providers. I mean, this channel has only just started and I'm already considering putting the content on BitChute just to make sure that it is somewhere else in case the YouTube channel goes down. And yes, these social media companies are private companies, but at the end of the day, no monopoly's sacred. I mean, look what's happened to MySpace. Does anybody even use MySpace anymore? Now, my main concern is what is going to happen now to all these subscribers who've watched Infowars? Because if Infowars needed anything to prove a conspiracy, it's quite clear that there's been a conspiracy against them by the high-tech media companies. And you have to ask, what political involvement has there been from the government on this? Because to me, this just looks like a backdoor move to restrict the free speech of people who they don't agree with. And, as I'll always advocate on this channel, debate with your opposition. Don't shut them down, because all you do is, one, you give them an air of notoriety, so people are more likely to flock to their banner. It also shows the opposition that you've got no confidence in your own convictions, and that you doubt your own position. And as the old saying goes, give people enough rope to hang themselves with. Right, finally, I'm going to go on to the inflammatory comments made by former Foreign Secretary for the UK, Boris Johnson. So, the former Foreign Secretary said people in burqas look like letterboxes or bank robbers. The Equality and Human Rights Commission said his comments risked vilifying Muslim women. There's been dozens of complaints sent to the Tory party and they are being investigated, but Mr. Johnson has stood by his remarks. Now, if I'm utterly honest, who actually really gives a shit about this? Because let's be honest, he is the Prince Philip of the Conservative Party. Now, Rowan Atkinson, the comedian, has come out in defence saying, "No apology is required for ridiculing religion," and I have to say, I agree with him, because I am all for freedom of speech, and if you don't like something somebody said, don't listen, or grow a fucking pair of balls, and take the piss back. I mean, would anybody actually be complaining if this was said or levelled at the Westboro Baptist Church in America? No, they wouldn't. As far as I'm concerned, the best way to treat this is just treat Boris Johnson like Prince Philip, and oh look, the mad old bastard said something controversial again. So that's all I have to say on that matter. Anyway, if you like this kind of content and you want an alternative view of the left wing, which isn't totally and utterly fucking mental, then please consider subscribing, and I will try and get the introduction video out as soon as possible. So, thank you for listening, and goodbye.